Episode 2 of Totally Unplanned. It's a little after 4:20, but I'm not going to smoke weed for this episode. We're going to do it totally sober, not on anything except an allergy pill today. So let's do it. Let's see what happens. Here's a thought for the day. The internet is not that entertaining. I've realized like social media apps and YouTube and all this stuff is not that good. I don't know if it's because it's all DIY, it's all low budget, self-made, independently made. It was so interesting to see stuff like that in the 2000s, early 2010s even, when this was all very new. But now I'm just realizing how much a majority of stuff online just is, it lacks any kind of substance. It's all surface level. I'm just so bored of a lot of it. It's very boring. What I'm getting at is a lot of this stuff has to do with whatever your intention is as a performer or as an entertainer. And because a majority of people are approaching it as, oh, we just need attention. We have to just get attention. We have to get people's eyes on what we're doing. That's the worst approach ever. And it's why everything feels very cookie cutter and repetitive and nothing is actually that interesting. I see the same jokes, the same bits over and over and over again, and it's just not funny. It's not funny, and it never was. I don't know if it ever was funny, but it's something that people could just send their parents or send their friends. Like most of the things we see online, it's literally just to send it to, a spouse or a family member and be like, this is so us, so me. And it's fucking stupid, man. It's really fucking dumb. And people have lost their individuality in a lot of ways because everything's just trying to appeal to everyone. And the thing is, not everything should appeal to everyone. I feel like a lot of things I see online, there's some good appetizers, but none of it is a satisfying meal. None of it makes me feel like, wow, I'm glad I watched it. I think it's best for everybody to go out of your way to find stuff that you really are gonna love and stuff that you're gonna find a lot of satisfaction with, because that's what it all comes down to, is you want to feel satisfied. Go out and fucking read a book, watch a movie, watch anything else that has some substance to it, because I promise you will be reminded of how good these mediums are and how much better they are than being on the phone. I promise you. Remember, nobody likes pedophiles, unless you're the President of the United States. I got my dad in episode 1, so here's my mom.
Of course, I have a bottle of wine. Dark Horse.
As someone who's been teaching for over 25 years, what changes have you noticed with the youth?
Many changes. I think kids today are much more tech savvy than any generation before them. Every generation just gets more and more high tech, and that's a wonderful thing. I think a lot of kids today are very aware of the news, the world news. I don't remember being that enlightened when I was in middle school. I don't think I ever even watched the news, but these kids today know what's going on around the world. Because they know what's going on around the world and they're not as naive as kids were 20 years ago, they obviously have more anxiety, understandably so, But I think they've also struggled with commitment and focus and grit. They don't stick with something long enough to see it come to fruition. Maybe they don't care, or they just don't have the endurance. But I remember when I first started teaching, I could do, Fiddler on the Roof with a cast of 50 kids, and they all showed up for rehearsals and they learned their lines and they got choreography. And now kids don't want to memorize lines. I think kids today have lost a lot of passion for things. I remember when Rio was younger, when you were younger, you were very passionate about skateboarding. And kids today they just have lost this fire. You rarely see this flame in their eyes of like something that they're really excited about. It's like they've been muted. And I'm not surprised if cancel culture has something to do with it, but kids today are just not as verbal as they used to be. They're not as mature as they used to be. It's almost like they've become more emotionally immature, but more informative, which is a really deadly combination when you have a lot of information, but you have less abilities to regulate your emotions. And that has created such a mess of teenagers, at least, which is what I teach, because they know too much and they have no control over how to process any of it. Whereas I think 20 years ago, kids knew less and they had a better ability to process their emotions. So,
if the smartphones, social media, and the internet just went away suddenly, how do you think that would affect this generation?
It wouldn't, because I was getting to the point that I see a lot of problems between the intra-communication between kids and parents. That's where I think the problem lies. It's not the surplus of information on the internet. It's the fact that the parents are not communicating in healthy ways with their children. I think kids can handle both. I think kids are very resilient. They can handle getting information from the internet, but it's the parents' job to process it for them and to break it down for them in child-friendly. I think the biggest problem I see as a teacher is parents are treating children like adults. They're just treating them like small adults. They talk to them. Like, I have a lot of kids that know intimate details of their parents' divorces. They know too much of what's going on. When I got divorced, you were 5. And I never shared any of my relationship with your father, or what was happening with us in the courts, or what was happening with us throughout the course of your upbringing. Because your father and I, although we were divorced, we co-parented very well, and we always knew that we had to protect you even from our own emotions. So I never badmouthed your father. Your father never badmouthed me to you, and that is probably why you have a healthy relationship with both your parents. But we have a lot of parents now that are not communicating in healthy ways. The parents need to learn how to communicate. But I think if I were to compare the kids that I find very, very mentally healthy with the kids that I find very mentally unstable, it comes down to their home life, their parents, the relationship they have with their, they're all on the internet, but some kids handle it so much better than others. Why is that? Because they have parents who probably spend enough time with them where the child naturally puts the phone down and wants to spend time with their parents because their parents are pleasant people to be around. But if you're not a pleasant adult, then don't be surprised when your child is locked up in their room for 8 hours straight and doesn't want to talk to you. Heck, I wouldn't want to talk to you. So I think it comes down to the parents. I think we can have both. We can have the internet, social media, information. We can have all of this stuff if the parents could learn how to communicate in a child-friendly way and what's age-appropriate. And bam! That's my feelings on that.
That was great. Thank you so much, Mom. I love and appreciate you.
Peace to you.
I don't know if we have time for anything else, to be honest. It's a couple hours in, and feel like we're already done with this episode. So I guess there's nothing left to do but get high. It's nice waiting all day, honestly. Holy fuck, it hit me like way harder. If you're a pothead, take a tea break. Weed will be better. Oh God. Smoking will feel better. My tolerance is so fucked sometimes from how much I smoke and get high and eat edibles, whatever, that I kind of need to take a break just so that I can feel like I'm actually getting high again. So I was joking with a friend last night. I feel like the more I smoke weed, the more I need to smoke more weed. So, I don't know if that makes sense, but this episode was great. I might have some other guests on here. I just want to get my parents on here because I love and adore them very much. They're my best friends in the entire world, so I'm very grateful to say that too. Not everybody gets to say that, but they have some interesting things to say, and you can see where I get my desire to talk about things and monologue and whatever. But hey, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been episode 2 of Totally Unplanned.